Spirit was something I thought I could find in a tumbler mixed with Coca-Cola. Now, I'm not a spiritual person. I'm not a bad person. I've always been kind to small animals. But I have been self-obsessed with trivial things, like, for example, the combination of shirt, of socks, and of shoes that I would wear before leaving home every morning. And when I look back now, I think to myself, all of that time obsessing on such things is such a waste. It was so empty, perhaps even shallow. And so I asked myself, well, what has changed? So why is it some of these things that previously I thought was important no longer seem important to me today? And so as I searched for an answer, I came across this concept of life cycles. So this Austrian philosopher by the name of Steiner in the late 1800s spoke about these life cycles. So physically and at a cellular level, our bodies renew themselves every 7 years. Quite literally, I'm not the same person I was 7 years ago. But Steiner believed that this was more than just cellular memory, because there seems to be a sense of continuity in our existence. Rather, he said that in fact we're all spiritual beings, so composed of things such as sentience, of emotions, of consciousness, and of self-awareness. And all of these things are housed in our physical bodies. So not only do we develop and grow physically, but emotionally we develop and grow. And he said that this development and growth actually comes in segments of time bounded by 7 years. But Steiner wasn't the first to speak of this. In fact, 3,000 years before, Hindu philosophers were talking about these universal life cycles which would influence and mold our emotional state. So throughout our life, we are changing, and it's not just a physical change, but emotionally we're developing and we're maturing. And we do so in cycles of 7 years. So what are these cycles? Well, the first cycle is from 0 to 7 years, and really it's a cycle based on dependency. So none of us here were born with the ability to walk, or to talk, or to live independently. And in fact, our survival was dependent really on sustenance provided by people around us. Now the second life cycle, so this is from 7 to 14 years, is one where our personal values begin to emerge. So we begin to perceive differences, and in fact the likes and dislikes that we develop at this stage can be so strong that they carry through to later parts of our life. Now the third cycle, so this is from 14 to 21 years old, is really one about development. So it's about learning, it's about education, and it's also one that I think is memorable for all of us because it brings with it the onset of puberty. Now, at least in my case, this was a difficult segment of my life, in part because I grew fairly erratically. So what happened, it seemed as if that at times my arms were literally growing faster than my legs, and at times I felt like I'd taken an evolutionary step back. But I moved forward. And I moved forward into the fourth cycle. So this is from 21 to 28. And really this cycle is all about development. So it's about learning, it's about education, and it's also one where we look at building, say, the foundations of life. So the foundations that I'm talking about form the basis for the rest of our lives, and they're things such as commitment, change, and perhaps even family. In terms of the fifth cycle, so the fifth cycle is from 28 to 35. Now in this cycle, the desire to live and to enjoy life is really strong, and to create something from life, and it's the one that I most recently passed through. And it was in this cycle that I started to ask myself more profound questions about my life and who I am. So in terms of looking forward, what do I have to look forward to now? In the sixth life cycle, so this is from 35 to 42, life can begin to feel a little bit repetitive. It can lead to some type of routine, and there's a risk of feeling like I've reached a point of stagnation. So it's something I need to be careful of. In terms of the seventh life cycle, so the seventh life cycle is from 42 to 49, I will face a major turning point in my life. So euphemistically, this is the segment of the midlife crisis. Now, I don't know how that one will play out, but let's wait and see. And then in later cycles, I can be faced with opportunities to develop, to grow in wisdom and in understanding, and perhaps find some of the answers to the questions I ask myself today. Or not, because enlightenment in life is not guaranteed, and not everybody gets there. And I think that's the health warning that I place on all of this. So when I think about the question I ask myself is why some of these small obsessions no longer seem important to me, quite simplistically the answer is that I've changed, but it's more than just a physical change. It's emotionally I've developed and I've matured, and I've done so more or less in sync with these universal cycles. Now, you may have some views about growth and development, and if so, I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts on this. And anyway, I look forward to an opportunity perhaps to chat with you at some point during the break.